So we're just going to set up a raw score in this example for a reading assessment, and we'll make it a raw score out of 20, and any number between 0 and 5 comes up in red, 5 to 15 comes up in amber, and we'll make 15 and above 15 show it in green. So those are pretty straightforward if-then statements. If the raw score is 5 or less, then show it in red. If the raw score is between 5 and 15, show it in amber. And if the raw score is above 15, show it in green. But just so that you have an understanding of how the color coding options are set up, I've created a new assessment called Reading Assessment. So I went to the Settings screen and the Assessments tab. And that is the master list of assessments that you can add to maps, that you can generate reports based on those, and so on. So I've just created a new literacy assessment called Reading Assessment by clicking the Add button. And then I need to give it a result type, or I need to link a type of outcome to that test. And I'm just going to use a default one called the raw score. So if I press enter on result type 1, you can see we've got all these different types. We've got stanines, we've got levels, we've got A to E's, we've got standardized scores, test numbers, and so on. I'm just going to use the raw score option. I'm going to make it between, I said 0 and 20 actually. So that's now created a new assessment with a name of reading assessment and an outcome of a raw score between 0 and 20. So for that raw score result type, I haven't yet, the only thing I've defined is the minimum, maximum, and number of decimal points. So it's 0 to 20 with no decimal points. I can now tick this box that says conditional color formatting. Those of you that have played with Excel color formatting, it's probably along a similar vein, but all you do now is create a number of rows that say if this then that. So it defaults to if the raw score, then you need to choose the operator. Is it less than, greater than, equal to, less than and equal to, and so on. So I'm going to say if it's less than and equal to 5, I'm going to ignore the rest because I'm just testing one value. Then I want the final color to show up in, and you can choose the color from the color palette. Then, if that if-then statement fails, it's going to then test the next one. So now I'm going to say, if the raw score is greater than or equal to 5, and the raw score again is, say, less than 15, then show it in, just pick the amber. And the final one will be if the raw score is greater than 15, then show the raw score in green. Now I have purposely made 2 mistakes in this list, and I'd like to know if anyone can spot them. So the first row is pretty unambiguous. If the teacher types in a score from 0 to 5, it'll show up in red. The next one has an error. Who knows the error?
5.
Sorry?
Would you have to go 6?
Yeah, because actually both conditions would be true if they typed in a 5. The one is less than or equal to 5, and the next one is greater than or equal to 5. So I just want 0 to 5 to be in red, and so from 6 up I want to be in amber. So greater than and equal to 6 is actually the correct way to do it, because this will go from 6 to 14, because here I've said if it's less than 15. So we're doing a little bit of primary school maths here, and I hope everyone remembers it. And then what's the error on the third and final row? What happens if the teacher types in exactly 15? It won't be color coded because none of these conditions test for exactly 15. Here we say less than 15, and here we're saying greater than 15. So either we make this greater than and equal to 15 in green, or less than and equal to 15 in amber. I'll make it less than and equal to. And now we have covered every possible score. So anything we type in will be color coded. That's it. So I'm going to save that, and we'll create a map with that new assessment and show you how the values look. So we go to Students and Results, Student Map. I'll just create a new map called color coding testing. And on this new map, I will edit the map layout. And I will add our new assessment, which is right at the top of the list, called Reading Assessment. It automatically chooses the raw score, and I'll just make this for 2020 Term 1, for example. So now we've got a new map with a single column, which is just our reading assessment, and the raw score between 0 and 20 is now just entered straight into the map. So if I put in a score of 21, she no likey. So you get a little message saying, can't do it, you're only allowed a value between 0 and 20. So this is where the data consistency part comes into Grade Expert. If you're using, for example, Excel to enter data, you can type anything in you want, unless you put some really tight formulas in behind the scenes. With this, Grade Expert knows that it can only be between 0 and 20. So anything else is not allowed. Even decimal points are not allowed. And so that ensures that the data that's going in fits within the parameters that you've set up for that test. So if I put in a score of 4, I'd expect it to come up in red. Works! What about 5? What color should it come up in? Anyone remember what the color coding levels were?
Red, I think.
Red it is, because we said less than or equal to 5. We put in a score of 6, comes up in amber, and we said anything above 15 was in green. And that's setting up the color coding. It's fairly straightforward, but there's obviously more to it behind the scenes when you include things like term 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I might just do that actually. So in our color coding testing map, I'm going to put in term 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so our map now has 4 terms worth of data collection columns for our reading assessment, because we do this once a term. So for the color coding on our raw score, I'm saying if the raw score is less than 5, then it shows up in red. But in term 2, I'd expect them to be doing a bit better. So if they're, for example, less than 8 in term 2, then it comes up in red. So I'm just going to clear this out because we actually want to start with the term. So I'm going to go back to conditional formatting. I'm going to say now, instead of testing the raw score first, I'm going to test the term. So if the term equals 1 and the raw score is, say, less than 5, or less than or equal to 5, then show it in red. Alternatively, if the term equals 2, so now they're putting in term 2's test result, and the raw score is less than and equal to, because now we're raising the expected level, so let's make it, expect them to do, I don't know, 8, then show it in red. And I'm just going to right click and duplicate. I love the right click duplicate. Term 1, 2, 3, and 4, 11, 14. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying my benchmark, my expected level, is increasing for this test as we go throughout the year, which makes a lot of sense because you expect the students' levels to improve as they're going through the year. So then I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to say again, if term equals 1 and the raw score is greater than and equal to 6 and the raw score is less than or equal to 15, then show that in amber. One, 2, 3, 4. And we go from 6, then we say from 9, 12, and 15. So I'm just basically matching up the terms. So term 4, if it's between 15 and, I don't know, I'll just make up some numbers here. So I'll just do term 1 and 2 for a start to show you what that looks like. So we said anything 5 or below in term 1 is red. If I did 6 in term 1, it's amber, but if I do a 6 in term 2, it's red, because we're expecting them to score higher and higher as they go through the years. So the teachers don't even need to know what the expected level is, because the color coding informs them of that. We can also include things that say if the student is in year 1 and it's term 1 and the scores are between these values, or if they're in year 3, the values that you are color coding will be quite a bit higher.